Now, this 9/11 conspiracy codswallop is not really my thing. I've said it before, you know, with a lot of this stuff, I'm sort of mainly interested in sort of ET, alien stuff. Is it really happening? Is there anything to any of this? But recently somebody said, well, have a look at, actually I'll see what else Andrew Johnson has to say about, I think he talks about the Apollo missions, and I think he talks about the secret space program, so I'll be taking a look at that. But certainly what I've seen from Andrew Johnson so far is absolute rubbish. Now, I saw this video and I watched a bit of it and I left a comment. I left a comment and Andrew Johnson blocked me. Now, it wasn't an offensive comment. I'll show you the comment in a second. But I just want to play you this first because I thought this is quite amusing.
So the book, you know, those books.
Oh, they're peddling a book here. You've got to buy a book to read about this nonsense. Pay money to have your head filled with drivel.
So there, people can read them. We've done videos. It's all on the web.
And none of it has ever been refuted.
No.
None of it has ever been refuted. No, says Andrew Johnson. What else did he say?
And we, you know, again, if there are mistakes, we want to hear about them. I certainly do, and people have made. I've made mistakes, and those.
Okay, he's made mistakes.
Have been corrected as best I can. But going on from there.
Okay, so none of it's been refuted. That in itself is rubbish. Almost all of it has been refuted. Toasted cars, nonsense, meaningless. Now, I left a comment on this channel, which I think is Andrew Johnson's channel. Check the evidence, something that Andrew doesn't do, obviously, because if he did, he'd find there's absolutely nothing to any of this crap. Okay, so I left this message yesterday. Steve mumbling. Top Gear have a D.E.W, do they? And there's a link to a video. Or maybe Blackpool Council have one. And there's a link to another video. And I'll show you a couple of bits from those videos in a second. But what I want you to think about first of all is why would Andrew Johnson? Oh, this is not an offensive comment, is it? Why would Andrew Johnson not want you to see these videos? Think about that for a second. Andrew Johnson, I posted this comment yesterday, and Andrew Johnson blocked me because he doesn't want you to see the two videos that I linked to. I'll leave a link to both of those videos below, of course, so you can take a look yourself. But why? What is Andrew Johnson's motivation for preventing you seeing those videos? They're saying none of what they put forward has been refuted. That's nonsense. It's all easily refutable. And he's saying he wants to be corrected. He wants to look at the evidence. Well, you know, okay. So why would he not want you to look at these videos and compare what you see in these videos to what they're talking about? Well, personally, I think that's a pretty good question. And if anyone gets to interview Andrew Johnson, perhaps you could ask him. So let's just see what we've got here. I think this one first. Now, this is from UK Top Gear, where they're trying to destroy a Hilux pickup truck. Press play, might help, Steve. See, there's rather large buildings and they're disappearing into almost nothing, aren't they? Lots of dust. We see lots of dust splaying out in all directions. Look familiar? I'm just going to mute the sound here because James May will be jumping up and down wanting to put commercials on my video. Now, we can see the dust is clearing here. This is a view from a helicopter. Lots of dust. Look familiar? This is in East London. And as the dust clears, okay, that is what is left. I think they were 22 stories, those blocks of flats. It's not a very big pile of rubble, is it? Where are all the metal girders? You know, so there's no there doesn't appear to be very much difference here, does it? Has this building been dustified by a directed energy weapon? It's ridiculous nonsense. It's laughable. And the same for this one here. Let's have a look at this one. Mute the sound on this one as well, I think. And we'll just have a look at this. Lots of dust. Looks very familiar, doesn't it? Looks very familiar. Now, why wouldn't Andrew Johnson want you to see those videos? Why do you think that might be? Personally, I think he knows. It shows their ridiculous bloody claims up for precisely what they are. Ridiculous, ludicrous claims. Okay, let's have a look at another clip. Okay, back to the Andrew Johnson check the evidence video, check the evidence channel video.
Importance of the evidence which shows you that free energy technology exists.
Now this is quite funny because they've offered absolutely no evidence that the buildings were brought down by a directed energy weapon, let alone a directed energy weapon powered by free energy. Where does this link come from? I think it's ludicrous to suggest the buildings were brought down by a weapon in the first place. There's no evidence for that. I haven't seen any evidence for that. If you think you have, post a link to it below. I'll have a look at it. But to then go on to say that the directed energy weapon was powered by free energy is yet another ludicrous leap. Absolutely no evidence for that whatsoever. This is just absolute bloody rubbish.
I'd like to put it in other terms is what happened. My book's about evidence of what happened.
Yes.
No, it isn't. She states it's empirical evidence. That means, you know, you look at it and you make your mind up as to what that is showing you. She offers no tangible evidence for a weapon being used. Obviously the aircraft were used as weapons, but there was no evidence of a directed energy weapon. Certainly no evidence of a directed energy weapon powered by free energy. Zero evidence.
And the evidence of what happened is evidence that a technology exists that can do what was done.
Well, we all saw what happened, didn't we? Okay, so let's have a look at irrefutable. This is on Andrew Johnson's channel again. Check the evidence, and let's just have a quick look at this.
The buildings, in fact, mostly turned to dust before they hit the ground.
You see the steel falling in midair, trailing dust.
Yeah, okay. Now, again, you see the steel in the air trailing dust. How do we know this is steel? Couldn't this be disintegrating concrete? Couldn't this be steel? And of course nothing happens to this. This doesn't turn to dust.
Not hitting anything as it's flying flying through the air. So why is it turning to powder in midair?
It's not pulverization, it's not vaporization. I call it dustification.
Well, yeah, this is not steel. What evidence is Dr. Judy Wood showing, or what's his name, Andrew Johnson, showing that this is steel? This is probably concrete. Could be plaster. Could be anything. They don't know this is steel. None of this is being dustified, is it? Maybe this is steel. Nothing's happening to this, is it? There's only this stuff here that appears to, let's have a look at it, appears to disappear into the dust, whether it's actually disintegrating or whether it's just the dust cloud is just getting thicker so that it disappears.
The buildings turn to dust.
Those towers literally disintegrated. They went into dust.
Yeah, well, that could just be a concrete beam going into thicker dust, couldn't it? And again, you've still got all this. This is not being dustified, is it? Look at the scale of it. Look at the size of a floor on one of these buildings here. So these are huge chunks of something. These are probably huge chunks of steel not being dustified, to use Dr. Wood's term. But all this other stuff, it's just concrete, just as we saw in the video of the tower block demolitions in the UK. This is nothing. It's meaningless. Absolutely meaningless. Irrefutable. Nonsense. Absolute drivel.
How could so much steel and concrete just vaporize? Did it all turn to dust?
Well, how much steel and concrete was in the tower blocks we saw being demolished in the UK? You know, with the Top Gear video, with the Blackpool Council video, whatever it was. This is meaningless. This is not evidence. This is not evidence. It's certainly not evidence of a directed energy weapon. Certainly not evidence of free energy. And I think this is precisely why Andrew Johnson didn't want you to watch the other videos. You know, if they're interested in getting the truth out there and being corrected and showing where they're going wrong, why block my post? Why prevent people seeing those videos? To be honest with you, I think that speaks for itself. I really do. Now there might be something else, so let's just end this clip here. Okay, back to the twaddle. I think I can probably stomach a few more minutes of this bloody nonsense.
We just, that group is specifically focused around where did the towers go and the research you put together and the significance of that. We don't talk about the latest 9/11 document release, about these 28 pages of documents that, you know, we're not interested in that. You know, we're interested in the importance of the evidence, which shows you that
it shows you that the buildings were brought down by terrorists very clearly. Certainly doesn't show. It certainly doesn't show you they were brought down by a directed energy weapon powered by free energy. That is just nonsense. There is not a shred of evidence for that.
free energy technology exists.
No, it doesn't. It's science fiction. It's bloody nonsense. Yeah, I really don't know why these people they sort of grab this free energy platform with both hands and run with it, but you know there is not a shred of tangible evidence for free energy, let alone a directed energy weapon powered by free energy used to bring down the towers on 9/11. It's just bloody rubbish.
I'd like to put it in other terms is what happened. My book's about evidence of what happened.
Yes.
And the evidence of what happened is evidence that a technology exists that can do what was done.
Nonsense. Absolute drivel.
But that technology doesn't have to do what was done. It can do good things.
See, this gullible people like Ben Emlyn-Jones swallow this bloody nonsense hook, line and sinker and then run with it. I've heard Ben Emlyn-Jones say this at one or two of his presentations. Think what you could do, you know, think how the world would be improved if only they'd release this free energy, you know, and it's nonsense. It's science fiction. Doesn't exist. It's rubbish.
And
To provide free energy.
that's essentially our main motivation, isn't it? To show people that out of this, you know, horrible set of events.
Well, I suppose, yeah, you'd have to have a motivation, wouldn't you? What would your... Yes, you'd need some sort of end game, some sort of target, some sort of goal. Whether this is their real goal, who knows? It might just be so that they can get their faces on YouTube, flog a few books, and you know, get a bit of a following. Go and do presentations and get people to go along. I think I actually mentioned this. You know, you've got to book a venue, then you've got to get people to come along. It's a bit of a business, you know. It's they like their micro celebrity.
Horrible on so many levels that there is a light at, you know, a light that can come out of that, hopefully, to change
Silver
the world.
lining of
Yeah,
the
yeah.
cloud.
And you know, obviously you've written about Nikola Tesla in your book, and other people such as John Hutchison.
And Tesla was afraid to bring this out.
Yeah, Nikola Tesla and John Hutchison. The old Nikola Tesla free energy chestnut. Tesla himself said that the free energy, the Wardenclyffe Tower was nothing whatsoever to do with free energy. That was transmitting energy through the air, electrical energy through the air, but you had to generate the electrical energy. Free energy, the closest thing Tesla came to free energy was what he called radiant energy, and Tesla himself said you could never collect enough of it for it to be of any practical use. What do we know about John Hutchison? Well, we know that he's as nutty as a fruitcake. In his own words, he's a raving lunatic. And just in case you've forgotten, here is John Hutchison being asked how he thinks he survived. You know, because these free energy people get bumped off. Jesse Ventura's asking him, how do you think you survived, John?
Because I'm a raving lunatic.
Because I'm a raving lunatic. There we are, John Hutchison in his own words. Because he's a raving lunatic. And let's not forget, of course, that John Hutchison really is a raving lunatic. I'll just let this video continue on a little bit.
Hello, folks out there. This is Scarlet.
There's their free energy hero, the the brains behind the 9/11 super weapon, the directed energy super weapon powered by free energy that brought down the Twin Towers. John Hutchison.
Connection reporting. Somewhere out there in regards to John Hutchison doing his strange experiments again.
Do you fear for...
Put that on a bit.
A couple of men in white coats. Oh, hello. How are you doing?
Couple of men in white coats. This is John Hutchison's alter ego, Carla Niption. He's got a whole channel dedicated to Carla. And I'll leave a link to that below so you can have a bit of a giggle at that.
Today. Fine. 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 What do you guys want? This call me the Lucy Goofy. Dreaming of you.
Yep, there is the free energy hero, the 9/11 free energy hero of Judy Woods, Andrew Johnson.
Thorazine, what for?
Thorazine. I suspect that's probably some sort of mental health drug, some mental health related drug. Okay, I'll leave a link to Carla Niption below and the John Hutchison Jesse Ventura thing. I don't know whether it's worth continuing with this Judy Wood and Andrew Johnson thing, but I'll just remind you that he blocked me from his channel, leaving comments on his channel. I left the link to the two videos that I've shown you, and just consider Andrew Johnson's motivation for not wanting you to see those videos of those towers being demolished in London. One in London, sorry, and a couple in Blackpool. So you can make your own mind up about the level of integrity applied by Andrew Johnson to his quote marks investigation. Close quote marks. I do wish these people, if they're going to look into this sort of stuff, I said it on the previous video, they would do it with integrity. You know, I mean, I'll show you the 9/11 videos. I won't. Someone leaves a video saying, "Well, this is the tower falling down. You know, how do you explain that?" I wouldn't block them because they'd shown a video of the tower falling on 9/11. You know, if you're going to do it with integrity. Let people look at what's out there. Let people compare. You know what normally happens to what you're suggested, to the outrageously fantastic suggestions that these guys are having. You know, directed energy weapons. Not only a directed energy weapon, but powered by free energy. No evidence for either. To say that it was that the directed energy weapon was powered by free energy is a huge thing. Where does that come from? Where's the evidence for that? So when it comes to Judy Wood and Andrew Johnson, I would say that they present zero evidence for their case. Zero. It's absolute nonsense. And not only that, they want to prevent you from making your own mind up by seeing a video showing something very, very similar that's just run-of-the-mill, everyday occurrence. So why is that? I think that should tell you all you need to know. Now, that's about as much as I can stomach. No conspiracy with regard 9/11. No government conspiracy anyway, or no US government conspiracy. Get it right. But certainly hijacked aircraft were flown into the towers, and the towers collapsed as a result of that, of the structural integrity being damaged. You know, and the fires burning for however long they burnt, and then the tops of the towers collapsing down onto the rest of the building, which is why it looks like, I think they describe it at one point as being pushed down, you know, like pushing down on a banana. It sort of comes apart like a banana peeling apart. And that would be the difference between the 9/11 towers and the towers being demolished that I showed in East London and Blackpool, because they would fall from the bottom, whereas the 9/11 towers, of course, would have been pushed down from the point where the aircraft actually hit the buildings once the structural integrity was compromised, and the heat and everything else in the top part of the building just slammed down onto the next couple of floors. It was just a pancake effect all the way down, which splayed the buildings out. So it's all perfectly understandable, perfectly reasonable, what you'd expect to happen. Okay, enough of this 9/11 nonsense. I can't believe I've given it this much of my time, to be perfectly honest. I think the whole thing, the whole 9/11 conspiracy theory is an absolute load of rubbish spruiked by gullible bloody idiots. Gullible half-wits. So there we are. As always, thanks for watching. Maybe I'll catch you again.